Well, I got to cover different bases because, um, just a pain or this or that, so I wanted to cover different categories so you could have a real understanding of how it helped me. And this is just after 1 month.
Amazing.
So,
Fantastic.
but I do have an announcement. I won't be here at your webinars next week on Wednesday and Thursday. It's not because I don't like you. I think you guys are great.
It's because
However, I will be out of town, out of the country, 3 or 4 times a year. I take my patients down to get stem cells in Mexico. So
Oh,
I'm leaving next week to take them down because I do my show every Sunday. So I leave on Monday and then come back later in the week. So I won't be here on your webinar. And,
that's
you know,
quite all right.
so just don't take it personally, okay?
That's fair enough.
Don't
Thank
worry,
you.
everything is recorded and you can see it afterwards on our website. So, and we also do every week a transcription of the webinars in the spirit of feeding everything to have a chatbot that is able to answer everything that we speak about during the webinars and in the documentations, etc. Because we cover a lot of ground and we need to have all of that fed to an LLM so that we can actually do something with the docs. So this is also in process.
Feeding the machine.
Yes. But it's also published on the website under biocoherence.net/user webinar or something like that, or user seminar, where you have a transcription of every item. And maybe we could just add a simple text search in this field so that you can find something, because we often have the question of, oh, I remember we spoke at some point about that thing. Do you know where it is? And we have a text search, but you don't. So so we can actually help with that.
so is anybody working on a video of a scan? I'm in communication with a person that I do business with, other outside of BioCoherence, but he's also interested in that. I want to do and he has professional video equipment, and he does the videos for the alchemy when the alchemist that I take classes from, when he has a class, a personal class, we
Sorry,
he
what's your
video.
question?
Hmm?
What
My
was your
question is there anybody working on a scan video set up?
Jason said he
Right.
was going to maybe do something like that. I see he's there with his camera off.
You mean something to explain how to do a scan with
Yes.
prints?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm working on that.
Okay. Yes, we can do
And
something. Yeah.
you know, just to see where that goes. It's going to be predicated on what he's going to charge, but I'm going to barter with him. He has a crop of many different plants and funguses and stuff, and I might barter some time with him, helping just to pay off, because it's probably not going to be cheap, but it's well worth a business expense. And then maybe even do some videos on, after you do the scan. We'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, we have tons of videos to make.
yeah.
So yes, it should be added to the video.
Cymatics.
Yes.
In fact, actually, this is now officially the 20th webinar. We tried to do it last week, but there was only maybe 3 people because you weren't here. So we basically decided to not do it.
No problem.
So welcome everybody to the 20th.
Okay, so maybe first thing, I don't know if you saw the new trefoil that we are working on. So this is something that you can download and print on your side. And this is the very last version, so I think it starts to be proofread. So this is the front page, of course. This is folded in 3. This is the last page, and you can put just a stamp here for you. And this is inside. And we, sorry, next step is we will do a poster, because some of you needed a poster for a future event, I think. So it's good if we do just a poster inspired by this kind of visuals so that you can also print it locally and use them.
Is that on the website?
Yes, I think it's on the group, but maybe not yet on the website. So when it's
Okay.
entirely,
It's on the
this is
shared
the very
drive.
latest version that I just got from Ines a few hours ago, because we went back and forth, I don't know, 30 times to try and make everything perfect. And so the next step would be the poster, and then you can just download the PDF and send it to your printer so that you can have some material to put in your waiting room or on your events and so on. And maybe we will also do some other versions if you need. So just ask Stephen if you need anything specific around this, so that if we need to do some other versions, we can do that.
So I have the first version that was sent out on Telegram, and I printed
Yes.
that out and I've saved that to my computer. Is it, are you saying that the one you just showed us is a revised version?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's
So
better on
that's good.
many little details.
And it is on the Google Drive link that
That's where I got it. I'm
Just-
sorry, the Google Drive. That's where I got it. Not
Do you have
Telegram.
the latest version, Stephen?
Yeah, yes.
It's from 12:45 today.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so you can put this one on.
Yeah.
You can put this one on the Google Cloud. And Dr. Johnny, do you have the Google Cloud link? If not, you just ask Stephen and he will send it to you. We have a Google Cloud where everybody can find resources related to BioCoherence.
I don't have
So
that.
if you don't have it, just ask Stephen.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to give me your Gmail address and I can add you into it.
Okay.
Sorry, you aren't on the Telegram group, no?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Okay.
Okay, another thing we did, because Tino asked us about that, was that he wanted us to write a new code of ethics, which is actually a very good idea. So we did. It's on the blog, and I will try to show you. 400 clicks later. Oh, it's not public. Okay, super. I will just do it for everybody. And now you got it. Okay. Okay, so in English for you will be better. Okay, so we just wrote a quick code of ethics just to explain what the philosophy behind BioCoherence is. So if you ever need this in any kind of settings, like we say, okay, we don't manipulate people, we want to promote self-healing, we want to offer access advanced tools, we want to ensure total respect for individual integrity, guaranteeing the confidentiality and security, creating a secure and reassuring environment, scientific basis and transparency, respecting autonomy and free will. No substitute for medical care, of course, continuously evolving to improve our service, and impeccable ethics and a caring approach. At first I was, okay, all of this is obvious. But then I said, okay, maybe it's not obvious for everybody, so let's write it down. So now it's written down. So this is basically the guideline of everything we want to do with BioCoherence. It's available in 6 languages as usual, and it's on the blog. Another thing we did this week is that I started the patent process for everything we do into BioCoherence, and I can say we are now patent pending. So we have a patent under investigation. Patent pending means we have made some initial claims and deposits and so on, but the real claims will take anything from 1 year to 3 years to process. This is with USPT, so the patent will be under American jurisdiction. Which allows us from now to say we have a patent pending technology, because we have so many unheard of points that are implemented into BioCoherence that this patent also, actually covers like 10 different patents. So right now we have put everything into one big patent, but maybe we will get to have several patents. Anyway, it's a big step forward because it's also recognition. And for me, the next big steps are having a brand that is recognized. This is already done. Having a patent with all the technologies that we put into the system, which is ongoing, and having medical studies with proper results that we can prove the efficiency. And this is also ongoing with the latest version that you started to get. But this is maybe something that I want to show you now, because working on the questionnaires is actually a multi-version endeavor because there's so much to do. So we started in the last version with releasing some first questionnaires, but we now have 7 medical questionnaires that are very well-known questionnaires used in many medical studies. And the 6 questionnaires, which are the MAS, the Mindful Attention Awareness Scale, the PANAS, which is Positive and Negative Affect Schedule, the PSQI, which is the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, the DAS-21, which is linked to depression, anxiety, and stress, the Big 5 that everybody knows, personality test, okay, and the SF-36, that is health and well-being related questions. These questionnaires would be asked just after recording, according to the main goal that you say you have after a recording. So in the latest version, we started adding a screen at the end of the recording to ask you what is the main goal of what you want to achieve in the coming month. If you can describe your problem in detail, and then to start filling, yes, to start filling an initial questionnaire, which is one of these 6 questionnaires according to your main theme. One thing that you don't see yet and that we don't advertise yet, but I will say it nonetheless, when you describe the problem at the end of the recording, we will actually qualify your problem according to the ICD-11. Is it ICD in English? CIM in French. International Disease Classification, IDC. I got a big... okay. Let me just find the English term. Up. ICD-11, that's it. So this is the International Classification of Diseases. This is made by United Nations, and it is the basis to qualify any disease on Earth with a proper code, and the codes are numerical codes. So when you describe the problem at the end of the recording, it actually targets some ICD codes that are recorded along with your recording. It's not displayed yet because it's very medical information, but it is pre-evaluated. And the goal of that is to be able to use the results of the initial and follow-up questionnaires and make studies according to the different ICD codes. Because when we can do that, we can actually prove that we have actionable results with this or this ICD code and this or this kind of customers and clients and this official medical questionnaires. So when we start having that, I think we will be the most scientifically validated thing that ever existed on Earth. On a medical point of view, I mean. So, you know, when people do studies, they do it on 10 or maybe 100 patients. We will have tens of millions of patients, and we will have thousands of biomarkers that will be validated by thousands of medical questionnaires. Which means we will have a very, very strong basis to affirm what we know, what we can actually do with this system. The VAS is the visual analog scale, and this one is much simpler. When you do the VAS, it's just ask you on a scale from 1 to 10 how painful you are, how is your emotional discomfort, and so on. And this one will be asked before and after a basic program. So in the next version, when you start a basic program, so even without a sensor, you can just say before and after your basic program sessions if your pain has decreased, for instance, or something like that. So this is also something that we can measure, but it's much simpler because there are only 5 questions, I think. And now, when you display the results, you can see the chronology of each item, and we can identify which are the most striking results, which are now outlined in red. Because for each of these studies, for instance, for the VAS, we can say that everything above 5 on 10, 5/10, is potentially an issue. So these ones are in the red zone and in the red zone here. This is the same for this one, but for instance, for the MAS, which is the mindfulness attention awareness scale, and we created also the emotional awareness, concentration, and word awareness. The problem is that if you are under 25%. So the red zone is below, and for this one, the red zone is over, is on the top, you know. For this one, the red zone is below. So it depends on each one. For this one, it's actually the positive affect score is problematic if you are under 25%, but the negative affect score is problematic if you are over 75%. Okay, so you see, we can design some red zones, and these red zones will then be used by the software to tweak your meditation and to add some specific items. Which means that with the questionnaires, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One thing is that we can actually do, okay, you have a strong evolution on this or this item across your different evaluations. So it could be only 2, like initial and follow-up, or it can be several ones. For instance, for the VAS, we don't limit the number of questions. We just say, okay, you can answer as much as you want, and we can see if there are strong variations and so on. Then what we will do is that with everything that is circled in red, so for instance, okay, I have a good sleep, so no problem. No, that's the depression. Okay, this one is okay. This one is okay. Okay, big 5, for instance. For this one, neuroticism is a bit higher. This one is particularly strange because you know the big 5. It's 5 main personality traits: extraversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, conscientiousness, openness, and they are all positive except the neuroticism, which is negative. So we had to do this strength scale where the problem is that if you are under 25% in extroversion or agreeableness or conscientiousness or openness, but the problem is if you are over 50% in neuroticisms. Okay, so that's why it looks a bit funny like that. But I think it makes it clear where you have problems, because it directly circles it in red and makes a red halo here, so that you can just get it in a glimpse. And the SF36 is the same. Okay. So now what we will do with that is we created some specific meditations for each of these bins. I mean, each of the results that are calculated here. And we designed it as a 7-day journey specifically for each of these markers. So for instance, let's say you are low on concentration. Okay, let's take a real one. Let's say you are high on physical pain. For this result, it will actually add something from the lists. And I can show you a preview of the list, which will add 245 new meditations to our 4,000 meditations. And these questionnaire impacts will look like that. So what did I take? VAS, physical pain. Okay, so you see we have 7 days dedicates to VAS physical pain, and this is meant as a progression, an easy progression to lead people to better manage their pain and to find solutions. So you have meditation on day 1. On day 2, you will have something to remember what you did yesterday and to extend it. On day 3, you will recall the 2 previous days and again extend it, etc., until day 7, where you will get some better knowledge of how to manage your physical pain if you are high on the VAS. And it is the same for every questionnaire and every result that we can have. So for instance, if you are low on the MAS, on the Mindful Attention Awareness Scale, it will give you some items to cultivate awareness in the present moment. And this will be added to your custom meditation as a 7-day journey. And so in this logic, we can add up to 3 important elements in your 21-day journey. And first week would be, for instance, dedicated to this aspect of the MAS. And second week would be, for instance, how to work on your extraversion. And third week would be, for instance, how to, I don't know, how to work on your sleep duration, okay? Because these 3 items would have been calculated important by our algorithm after you answer the specific questionnaire items. So you see, when you fill a questionnaire at the end of a recording, it actually serves to modify your meditation and to add some new items directly to it, which are deemed important by the algorithms. You can also, you as a practitioner, ask your clients to fill some answers. So I am currently working on a specific client, and I want to have a new result on the DAS21, for instance. So I will just, what's happening? Of course, it doesn't work. No, okay. Or on the big 5, I will just click on ask, and you see there is a little bell here, which means that next time my client opens his BioCoherence app, he will have a little pop-up that will ask him to fill this questionnaire, and you will get the results in your own BioCoherence app. And so you can see either an initial evaluation or the evolution after a few days. And you can ask remotely people to fill any one of these questionnaires. So I think it's a very good tool, first to get some medically proven results, and second, to get some personalization that we could not have in another way with just the measurements in the ECG. It also means that questionnaires will be available for people without a sensor to build these journeys without an initial evaluation, just on the basis of what you can say to one of our AIs and what you can answer in these questionnaires. I see there are questions. Jason and Dan, you want to ask your questions? Yes, Jason.
Hi. Thank you. All this is fantastic, and you guys do so much work in such a short amount of time. It's really amazing all the time. So
Thanks.
thank you for all the hard work and everything that you're putting into our hands so we can be successful. The question that I had was regarding some of the questionnaire.
Yeah.
And just upon the initial questions that ask, why are you doing the scan at this point? And you can move past that and dismiss it if you don't want to now. The one thing that came up in my mind was that there is no option to suggest that you're doing a scan to direct efforts towards improving performance of something. It's all,
Yeah, sure.
it's all the questions are related to somebody.
It's very good that you say. It's very good that you say that, because I was willing to say, and I forgot, that right now we have 7 questionnaires, which is the VAS, which is useful for everybody and specifically for the basic programs, and 6 questionnaires that are tied to the 6 main categories that we added at the end of the scan, as you say. But I am very willing to add other questionnaires that would be tied to other problematics. So just send us this kind of ideas, and we will research which questionnaires would be medically recognized in this field, and we will add the questionnaire and add the category at the end of the scan, because ultimately it should be useful for you. So it should be you that give us some inputs to say, okay, I see nothing related to sports. Please add something about sports. It's a very good idea. And
yeah, for sure. And I would I had made a plan to talk with Stephen at some point, so I can suggest, what I have in relation to that. But just in the initial premise of why is the scan being done, there's maybe 5 or 6 options that you can select.
Yeah.
And there again, there's just not an option to say that you're working on improving performance for something. So that was some of the, I guess, some of the obstacle that I felt to the initial questions was that there were designated answers, and in those answers, I didn't find an answer that fit my reasoning.
So for that, and for people listening to the webinar after that, just send an email to support@biocoherence.net with what you want to see in the app, and especially if you want to use a specific questionnaire for research, or because it's useful for you, or if you need a new field, a new general field like that. This is something we definitely want you to say us.
Yeah, for sure. Because I imagine that all practitioners, and this might be, I don't know if this is really a question or more, I'll try and make this more of a question than just an observation. So as a practitioner of a certain licensure, I would, submit certain questionnaires to my clients. There may be some questionnaires that are outside of my licensure or things like that. So would any of the questionnaires that you have be something that, say it was a mental health questionnaire, and I submit that to my client and ask those questions, and then there are all the things that you're starting to tie in terms of the designations of where a person falls based on those answers. Right. And so, does any of that step outside of any, licensure or skill set? Or if I ask these questions, but I don't have that particular designation as a practitioner, is that going to lead to,
So I only used publicly well-known questionnaires that are used in medical studies. So nothing is really restricted to any usage, to my knowledge. But right now we have 7 questionnaires, which is not a big deal. But even though you can start, you can start filtering them by energy, body, and mind, and you even have a keyword search.
Yeah.
This is made for the moment where we have like 100 questionnaires, of course, which is not yet the case, but the system is designed to have as many questionnaires as we want. And it's really easy. Now that everything is working, it's really easy for us to add new questionnaires. So it's a very straightforward process now. As to your idea to maybe hide some questionnaires, it's probably a very good idea to say, okay, I want to see these questionnaires on this one and this one, but I don't want to see this one because it's not in my field. Of course, it's a very good idea. And the problem is not obvious now that we have only 6 or 7 questionnaires. But when we start having 100 questionnaires, of course, we will add something like, this is in my favorites, and this should be hidden. So yes, of course. As for the legality, that's another question, and I don't know really if you are forbidden to use some specific questionnaires according to your specialty. So
right.
That's something I don't know.
We should know our own boundary lines and things like that, for sure.
And if you ask one of your clients to fill a specific questionnaire, it's up to him to fill it or not. So if he's not comfortable with giving some specific information to you, when you send a questionnaire, of course, it's obvious that you can read the results. So,
thank you.
Please. Yes, Dan.
Thank you. Um, primarily, the questions that Jason brought up was one of my concerns because I will be working in a field that's medical, and I'm still assuming that when the director, who is a licensed psychiatrist, will have, that won't be a problem. But for the non-medical scans, the questionnaires, which I had Angel do, the other thing that I didn't really see in there, and some of these people, if they're interested in stuff, is to maybe, everybody's belief structure is going to be different, but if there's questions in there, well, and I don't know how to word them. I've been thinking about that, but I didn't see it in Angels. So in other words, well, people that are really locked into allopathic medicine, which is fine. I mean, that's their choice. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but the pushback that they're not really describing, but we're picking up. So is there a way to either add the question so it gets value, or by what the scan sees, because the questionnaire is going to be filled out after the scan.
Yep.
So I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it's pushback. It keeps coming up in my face. Okay, so the pushback is, maybe we can, maybe they're not able to get relaxed to take the scan, or they're not hydrated or whatever, or maybe they're thinking, well, I mean, obviously it's their choice to do it, but and they're paying money for it. But am I making sense? Does this make sense? Because
you are thinking that maybe people will answer wrongly to the questionnaires because they don't do a good self-evaluation. That's the limit of questionnaires, of course. Questionnaires is a self-evaluation on a specific set of questions, and of course, if someone says, "Oh, my pain is a 7," and someone else says, "Oh, my pain is a 6," it widely depends on your tolerance to pain. So it's only an indication, of course. But what is interesting in questionnaires is that the first time you say, okay, my pain is 7, and then 1 week after that you say, okay, my pain is now a 4, and then after 21 days you say, okay, my pain is now a 1, and that is the interesting item in it. So of course there is an absolute value which might depend people to people, but it is the one that is used in every medical study. So we have to stick with it. And then there is a relative value, which is probably more interesting. And if we can say, okay, your pain is gone from 7 to a 1 in 3 weeks, that's fine. Whatever 7 and 1 means for the user, we understand that it's a huge decrease in pain, So yes, there is a limit, as every technology. There is a limit to questionnaires and to objectivity, but I think it's for the good nonetheless, I think.
Okay, well, I maybe I didn't. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't. I don't want to change the actual questionnaires for the medical, but I don't know. I just if they, well, have you ever taken, the simplest question would be, have you ever used an alternative healing protocol? Have you ever gone to acupuncture, or something like that? That's where I'm coming from. And then it's preload. In other words, they're scanning and stuff, and maybe after the scan and they get the, we pick low-hanging fruit, zap them in the chair while they're there, then that's going to change it, because now it's not an emotion, it's a belief. Once it's experienced, it becomes a belief. Okay, so then, and that carries forward. But I don't know, maybe I'm just,
I don't think it's really a problem. Of course, the questionnaire is something that is answered with the mind, with the mental part. But it's also valuable information anyway.
Also, the second question that I have, and you may have answered this already, but HIPAA. I mean, obviously, if it's on my laptop and it doesn't go anywhere, my laptop isn't HIPAA certified, but I'm assuming the server or the analysis is when it goes to the cloud. Is that listed? I mean, is the BioCoherence server HIPAA certified?
To my knowledge, it's a self-certification, and we respect the criteria. You don't have to have an audit to have that. It's an internal audit. And we have our own server. We don't use Amazon Web Services or things like that, where you don't know what they do with the data. So yes, the data is secure, and it's made according to this kind. In Europe, it has a different name, but it's the same kind of rules.
Because
Yes.
that's one thing that I'm gonna have to,
I'm
show or prove.
I'm not sure if we have to have an external audit, but I don't think so. When I looked at
We
the
don't actually, we actually don't, but we may, but as long as we are encrypting the information in the correct way, which we are, as long as we're controlling access control to the information, as long as we can log basically who has access to what at any time, and we securely back up and we have a disaster recovery plan in place for the personally identifiable information, then we are okay from a HIPAA perspective. And
yes,
if
and there is no pre-audit, there is a post-audit. If there is a strike or a complaint, or a complaint, we can have officials asking us about specific points on the HIPAA, and we must just prove that we respect the rules.
Okay, that's
So,
fine, because
so at this point, the answer is yes, we respect the rules, of course, and both for the HIPAA and for the European medical cloud.
yeah, I just asked because even though I didn't really deal with medical records, I had access to all that one in my field of the company where I work for. In other words, they were violence, reports, or just I mean, I can't look at their medical records, but I can see behavioral stuff, and it's the same. That it's all I'm saying is at Plymouth, what you're describing is what I had on their server. It's the same. I'm okay with that. That you answered my question.
And we probably will have to make some audits when we start being medically certified and so on. But right now, remember that we are still in the wellness range. But yes, of course, I believe that the data we have is very personal data, and so we do everything we can to make it safe and secure. Yeah. A little bit too much, because the recent problems we had with access rights to records were exactly because of this kind of problems, that we want to assure server side that only the designated people can access specific records. And it was a little bit too tight, which led to some duplications, because you could not overwrite a record if you don't have the specific rights. And the door was a little bit too closed, so it led to some duplications in the last week. But this is normally fixed now.
So that's why I couldn't. That's why I couldn't add to Angel's scan then. In other words,
Probably yes.
Because it had the initial scan, and then the 3 times since then that I've done the scanning, it didn't allow me to do it. I mean, today's a different story.
Probably yes. Yeah. So the door was a little bit too close, probably. And actually, if you do the scan belongs to you, and you can then share it with your client. If your client does a scan and share it with you, it belongs to your client. It means that you can access it as long as it says you are his practitioner, but the client can change practitioner when he chooses to share a scan. And at that point, if he changes practitioner, you won't have access to his scan anymore. The new practitioner will have access to it. So if you have done the initial scan, it will always belong to you. But if the client has done the scan, it will always belong to the client, which I think makes sense, but can lead to some complicated negotiations with the server.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it was my scan. I shared it with them. That's how he's going to get the scanner in the.
Yes, but it was probably a bug because of too much regulation.
Okay.
So yeah. But this is exactly the heart of the complicated access right things on medical records, and we want to be very tight on it, and it was just a little bit too tight, I think.
TJ with his hand up and a turtle shell as well.
What? TJ? Your mic is off. TJ, we don't hear you.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for those questionnaires. I haven't thoroughly looked through them because we started that with like a writing thing, and we'll just say like, I know when someone gets the app, you're clicking on a box as a signature, right? That's like authorizing these things. Because what we were looking at in our, well, I think there's a magic in something with making people write with what we were having with papers. And when we were doing stuff, we were just having people sign something saying this is like a counseling thing or whatever, not medical advice. Is that included on the questionnaires or something? I guess I'm just like putting that out there if that's something that we should just handle on our end when we're seeing people, which we've been kind of doing, or is that included on that? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you want what you say is that when people visit you, you make them sign a document?
Yeah, like a waiver or whatever.
Yes,
Like it's not.
a waiver, of course, yes. And you want to have the same kind of waiver if people are remotely seeing you?
Well, I'm wondering if that's included in any of the questionnaires. I know when you get the app, there's a box that we click,
Yes,
right? That's agreeing to all that.
there is an ULA, but it's tied to the general use of BioCoherence, not especially what you could say to the user. And I guess your waiver is more about what you could say to your client.
Okay,
And
yeah. Well, I'm just saying
not,
if somebody doesn't download the app and they're using the frequencies, like that would be like a different box to check. Well, I'm just putting it out there in case.
No, if somebody uses an MP3, there is no box to check because there is no app, and you. So if somebody just plays an MP3, we cannot have anything interactive with him because it just a file. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like on our end of the questionnaires, I was just putting that out there too, of something to be considerate of.
To be clear, it doesn't exist today, but do you think it would be an interesting addition to the software if we add a waiver specific to?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were doing on our side.
Yeah.
You know, when we started, before the questionnaire came up, we started writing that with our intake protocol, like how we're making a little like our little things, you know, to make it easy for us with our videos and stuff. And that was something that was included. And then you started building the questionnaire. So I was just throwing that out there. The other thing
what we could have on, just correct me if it's not what you want. What we could have is we could propose each pro to have his own waiver that must be signed by the user before sending anything. Is that what you want?
That's kind of what that's what I'm just saying might be a good idea, you know, especially in the United States. I know a lot of the stuff that I do, I operate under like a spiritual counselor ministry. So it's not medical advice, it's spiritual counseling, you know, for like
it's technically possible to add a per specialist waiver that you upload, and people just must accept it before getting connected with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that anyways in writing, but I'm just saying that might be a good benefit through the app and stuff like that.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
What was the other so then two things from yesterday, Kat was talking about the AI, and I was under the impression that that was like an internal thing, but she said she was asking it something and it like went out on the internet and started talking about things that.
Okay, what's your question?
She said it was like recommendations. Oh, there she is. She can.
Yeah, I don't know if it went out on the internet, but I was looking at a scan, looking at teeth and sort of exploring the AI, and it asked me if I wanted, recommendations about, what to do to, support teeth. And I said, sure. And it came back with information about basically it was all about using fluoride. Brush with fluoride toothpaste and use fluoride mouthwash. And I don't know whether it said fluoridated water.
Of course it comes from internet. We cannot really control everything that the AI say, and it's exactly as if you talk with ChatGPT, except that we send the AI some specific fine tunings and specific information about your scan so that it can really tailor the answers. But of course, the answers will come from everything that the AI has read on the internet. So maybe not exactly what you as a professional
Right.
recommend to your clients. But this is also what we say, that the AI are just like junior assistants that will say the most obvious things somehow. And these obvious things are usually not the same ones that you as a professional will say. And it's a good thing because I mean, you as a professional, you have much more value than that. So
is this something that's going to gain information? Because we kind of talked about ones that I was using with my friends and some colleagues here,
yeah.
that the more you talk to it, the more it understands what you want.
Yes and no. There is no training on what you say, but he has a memory of the current conversation.
Yeah.
But only the current conversation, but he also has access to all the biomarkers in your analysis. So it really works on the basis of the biomarkers on your analysis. What we can do is refine the fine-tuning on specific items. For instance, say, okay, 99% of our users don't recommend fluoride, so don't say that you should add fluor to your mouth. But I'm not sure it's right, because maybe 90% of medical doctors will say you have to brush your mouth with fluor. So what do we do? Do we have to have one AI trained on alternative medicine and one AI trained on official medicine?
Yeah.
I think it's becoming something complicated. So I think we should just stick to the fact that AI are just junior experts and not the real medical experts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted to ask about that because I thought it was locked inside just reading. But okay, that clarifies. I gotcha. The other thing then was on the frequency scale, that we were talking with Jeff yesterday. How I understand it, the changes and the cascade of the changes is the power of the frequency, right? In the math, when it slides like that, because we were talking about some people being sensitive to the sounds and not liking like the, which is what I like. But and I think that's unique to, because like these other generators are generating straight tones and it's just hitting you with one thing and it's forcing it in. And I feel like I got a good understanding on how you've explained it before. I don't know that I could regurgitate it, but we wanted to hear your words on the specifics of the biocoherent cascades when it slides and how that's an effective and unique thing, and you're getting more energy.
Yeah, I think it's just to be closer to basic natural processes. You know, in natural processes, you just don't go straight from one frequency to another. You slide between different frequencies, and I think it's much more natural to do it like that than to just feed you with very long frequencies or to force you to go from one specific state to another specific state without any transition. You know. On a biological point of view, for me, it doesn't make sense. It makes much more sense to do it like we do, which are relatively short bursts of information, which is 6 seconds and 6.73 seconds, and to slide between them in half a second, so that your body and your mind can just follow this in a more natural way.
What is actually happening in that transition? So are there multiple harmonies, or is this just a transition between the 2 or 3?
Yes. So when we play the frequency, we play 4 frequencies at once. And when we do the transition, all 4 frequencies are just shifting values. So if you have, okay, I have only 2 hands, sorry for that. If you have 2 frequencies like that, and then 2 frequencies like that, it will just slide. Whoop, one will go down, one will go up, which creates something that is designed to awaken your intent. It means each 6.7 seconds, your intent will be focused with this slide. Your intent will be focused on, oh, something is changing, I must tune in, you know? And half a second is exactly the good time for me to tune in to the new frequency, because you get the information that a new frequency is coming. You know, it's not a surprise that, oh, makes you a bad surprise. It's like, oh, okay, it starts moving. And in half a second you get a new frequency. So you just have the time to make acquaintance with the new frequency somehow.
Calibration.
And it makes, yes, calibration. And it also relaunches your attention every 6 seconds, which is very good for healing, which is why we start getting such weird feedback like, okay, my pain is vanishing in 4 minutes, which is something, honestly, that I couldn't think was possible. But we start having some feedback of people having healing in mere minutes, which is amazing. So I think this is part of the process.
So there's a difference in coming out of the harmonic part or the meditation. Because the meditation, we hear those transitions quite obviously. Where in the harmonics, it seems like you can actually watch them. They kind of hesitate for a second to go into the next.
I think the rhythm is the same, but during the meditation, it's much lower. So it's not the only part that you will have to listen to, and it's much something that is subliminal in the back of your head, because the goal of what we want to achieve in the meditation is leave more room to your subconscious to be able to do things, so the harmonic boost is more something like a strong boost, and that's why we called it like that. The meditation is something softer that should just be in the back of your head. But it's the same process in the two modalities.
As long as my mic is active, my other question is, on all the promotional stuff, as people start representing themselves as practitioners for biocoherence, a business card and maybe calling them a practitioner or something, would that be something that you would hand out to people? Or would you not want that sort of thing to happen? Because we're handing out brochures, which you can put that information.
Yeah, okay. So right now, I just want to say BioCoherence is a tool that any practitioner can use. And we are not yet equipped to make a validation of what you can do or not with the device. That would require us to have a school and to have a curriculum and to have something that validates that you are, so a kind of certification. And I'm sure it will come later, but it's a bit too much on my plate right now.
Oh, exactly, because that's what somebody asked me. Says, "Well, are you some kind of certified practitioner in this?" Like,
so we don't have a certification right now, but what I can tell you is that in France, for all the devices that we distribute, I have created a school and we do some certifications. So this is a process that we know. It's just not the same to make it internationally with BioCoherence, but this is definitely something that we will do, but maybe not in the coming year. It will take time to make a proper curriculum, and it could at least be some questionnaires to fill to check that you understand properly everything in the device, and that would be a level 1 of certification, like requiring, how you to say that? Requiring you to read the manual and to see the videos, and then having some questionnaires, like, I don't know, 50 questions, trying to trick you into understanding if you got everything right or not. And then if you got, for instance, at least 45 questions right, you could get certified level 1 as a BioCoherence practitioner. And then we would probably do some level 2 and level 3s, which would be probably tied to some practical applications. Like you have to present some cases with your clients, and these cases should be well documented and have results. And we could have maybe some hands-on trainings with those certifications. So all of this is a process that we know well because we do it in France with our school. It's not yet implemented in BioCoherence, but at one point it will.
Thank you.
And then maybe we can wrestle Steven at the end.
Well, yes.
He's like the last boss.
You know, he's a big Irishman, so I wouldn't do it.
Let's do it, TJ.
Yeah,
I want to see TJ and Steven go at it.
Rock versus the Irishman.
that'll take some pints.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let me just show you a few details of what will be in the next version because time is flying. Or maybe you don't care, we've seen enough, I don't know. Okay, just one detail. If I go back to the lists, when you go to any list and you open any item, you see until now for each of these items, you could only qualify them by Vata Pitta Kapha or by which organ it affects. Now we have added a third one, which is any biomarker. So you can just pick a biomarker and say, for instance, it will be good for ajna. It will stimulate ajna, okay? And now this will be part of the pre-evaluation for this particular list item. It is particularly interesting if you work on emotional items and you want to work with the drives, for instance. So you can have some specific entries in your list and say that these particular items are working on this emotion or this emotion. Or you can work on meridians or anything, TCM receipts and so on. So this is useful for, as always, to make some pre-evaluations of every one of your list items. And all of these questionnaire impacts will be qualified before we release them. So this is for the 245 new items and maybe more, because each time we will add a new questionnaire, we will add some new meditation weeks like that. So this list will continue to grow up. But what I mean is that for each of these items, it will be probably linked to drives because it makes more sense. So this is one of the novelties in the next version. One of the other big novelty is that we still have some problems in the harmonic boost player with old phones or not very powerful phones. So we are working on revamping the player on the bottom. So now you will have the real time boost, which will just play as you know here. But for instance, if you go to Mind or to Influencers, let's do a short one, you can just make the MP3 directly by clicking it here. And you will find all the MP3s that you created on the bottom, and you can play the MP3. So if you are on a computer that makes some strange noises when you play the real-time boost, it's because it's not powerful enough. So in that case, you will just generate the MP3 and you can just play it like that, okay? And you can also go everywhere else and you will find the player here and you can pause it and play it and skip it and stop it. So that is much more convenient and you will find everything that you created. So if you want to create for the body, for instance, you just click on it and it will create it. And then you will have it here available for later.
Where it says complete, if you choose complete, it'll do every one of those markers on the menu?
Yes, but the only difference is that when you are on complete, for instance, and it's 13 minutes here, it will make maybe it's a little bit shorter because we don't want to have MP3s that are too heavy. So it will limit it to 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the system.
Oh, okay. So on each marker on the menu there, they may be shorter if you choose complete,
Yes.
but if you choose each marker, it'll be the whole variation that you have, right?
So you start with the complete one and it's 13 minutes. But if I take only the one with protocols, it's only 2 minutes now. If I take only the one related to energy, it's 4 minutes and I can just generate it like that. And then I will have a new MP3 and you see I have influences, body, and I am in the process of having energy. And I can just share them directly or play them by just clicking on them. Right now, it stays on your device, but I'm asking myself if these MP3s could not be shared on the cloud with your client. If you do them during the appointment, it could be just uploaded to the cloud so that your client has them directly available for playing in their BioCoherence app, which would make sense. So we will probably upload them to the cloud, maybe for a limited amount of time. After that, you would have to regenerate them, but it could stay on the cloud for 1 month and be instantly available for your clients if you sent it to the cloud.
Thank you. That's a good innovation.
Yeah, I think it's good to have your collection here, you know, and at one point I will add a button to generate every variation so that you can have the whole collection generated in one click. The difference with the real-time boost is that the real-time is animated with that. And at one point, the real-time will also be fed with biofeedback. It means that in a future version, not now, you will be able to play the real-time boost and to measure what it does to you in the same time, and to have an evaluation of how useful each of these frequencies are to you, which we cannot do with the MP3s, of course.
So, and can we just save that to our hard drive then?
Yes.
Yeah.
You just click here, and you can just save it.
Okay.
Or you can just share them by clicking on this icon. And I don't know if you see the share thing that is just going here.
Mhm.
I'm not sure you see them, but it proposes me to share it through messages or WhatsApp or etc., or to save it. So these icons are depending on the platform. On Mac, you have or iPhone or Android, you have the options to share. On Windows, there is no share option. You can only save. But if we decide to upload them to the cloud, which I think is a good idea, we could add a third button, which would be send an email, and it would just send an email with a link to the cloud MP3 file. So the email itself would be very light, and people could just download it in a click from an email, which I think would be also very useful. I think that's it. The other news is that we finally updated the books in French and in English with everything that we put in the new manual. So it's currently under review to be published in the coming days. So we will have a new version of the French and English book. We have to do the cover for the 4 other languages, but the books are ready. So German, Korean, Spanish, and Polish. And we have the book from Christine in French, and it's currently under final reading for the English version. So we will have soon the book from Christine in English, which I strongly suggest you buy because it really is the foundation of everything we do in BioCoherence. So there are 2 books you should read. The one which is called Things About the Electric, which is really, really tied to everything technical in BioCoherence. And the one which is called Prology from Christine, which will be soon available in English, and which is really, really tied to everything healing principles and healing analysis that we put into BioCoherence.
How soon will we be able to get those, like on Amazon America?
It is on Amazon America, yes.
Okay, they both will be, or they are?
I think they are, but not in the very latest version, so wait a few days before buying them. Right now, you have the English and the French version, and you have the French version of Christine's book. So let's say coming next week, we should have the English version of Christine's book and the updated French and English version of mine.
Okay, all right. Thank
Yes,
you.
there is a Kindle version.
Thank you.
I'm not sure the Kindle version is updated, so I have to probably update it, but it's quicker, I think. There is a Kindle version of my book. We have to see if we can do a Kindle version of Christine's book because there are a lot of illustrations in her book, so it's more complicated, but we will try and do it.
I actually have her book on my Kindle and it reads perfect. The actual illustrations look great and everything. I just have it as a PDF on my Kindle.
Yes, we sent it as a PDF, and we should do it as a referable version, for Kindle. So, but in principle, it's not very complicated. I just have to see how it works with all the illustrations because it should be a mess with all the illustration legends.
So can we just purchase it as a PDF?
Yeah.
right now?
Mm.
Okay.
I mean, on the website or?
Again, it's not really. We don't have a PDF option on the website right now, but
Okay.
it could be possible.
But you know,
We have a Kindle version on Amazon, which is the former version, I think. So we have to update it, but it will be done today. Okay. And for Christine's book, we have to see if we can do easily a Kindle version. Mm.
so
But why not? Why not also sell the PDF? Why not? Okay. Mm.
yeah, I hate reading everything on the computer with all the blue light time I have to put in every day. I like the book because I can put markers in and use
Yes,
it for
agree.
reference, go back. So having both, I mean, if we have to wait to get the hard copy, but getting the PDF version, you
But you know,
know,
it's a print on demand by Amazon, so it's actually shipping very fast. They have fulfillment centers in many countries. So when you order it on Amazon, if it's on a market that Amazon delivers, it's a very fast delivery.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Ours comes from Illinois, Jeff.
All right. Hop on that pony and head down there and get me one.
The Amazon pony.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Give the
Mary.
name of your books again.
Mine is Sing the Body Electric.
What?
Sing the Body Electric. I will find you the cover. in
Dan and
English.
Jason got their hands up too if you didn't see it.
And what's the name of Christine's book?
So this is the one.
Oh,
And for Christine, let me find it. But on a déjà la couverture en anglais, Christine? Pour toi? I think we only have the French cover. I will check. Ah oui. Yes, we don't have the cover in English. Oh. We only have it in French. Couverture. But the name of her book is Prology.
Prodigy.
Prology. I will just open it if it wants to open. Where is it?
aha.
Ah, yeah. That's it.
Thank you.
You're faster than me. Ah, that's because I'm not in the proper folder. Anyway, okay, you get it.
The question from Jason there and from Dan. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a question. There's been a lot of conversation around the responsiveness of a person to the sounds. And one thing that I wanted to, I don't know if this is, again, more of a question or more of a statement, but actually, I'll just say it like this. So, Medrica, what is your take on the specific health or quality of a person's health in terms of their hearing? What if you did a hearing test on a client prior to playing sounds for them, and you find out that in one ear they can't hear hardly at all some of these sounds? So this is something that I do with most of the people that I work with, because some of the inputs that I use for the nervous system are through auditory inputs, determining the health of that cranial nerve and the areas of the brain that receive and process the information. So even just a basic hearing test, aside from some other things that I use to determine, the quality of their health on the left and the right side of their anatomy. And, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, is if somebody is having a less than optimal hearing, how will that affect how will that affect the benefit of biocoherence?
Yeah, I think the frequencies does not go only through the ears. It's bioactive frequencies that are emitted by your headphones, for instance, or speakers, and you get them through your whole body. In fact.
Well,
sure. If I can hear through one ear, but I can't hear through another ear, and then in terms of our whole body, we have various different receptors for different kinds of input. We have obviously receptors for electromagnetic. We have lots of receptors that are specific to things, and the quality of those things can be either lesser or greater depending on the client as well. So I'm just asking. I've had some ability to see some differences in how a person responds on their left and right side, just in testing hearing and eliminating it on another side, and then reassessing and seeing how they respond to it. And I definitely always get some designated response that's specific to what I'm looking for that way. But I just wondered, because there's a lot of conversation around people being very sensitive to things, and if it's not considered what their level of hearing or their auditory health may be, then you may have some issues with either people being more or less sensitive to their perception of the sounds, and also to the effect of the sounds.
So 2 answers. One is that you can just adjust the volume. So
Yeah,
if you're very, very sensitive, you just put it very low. 3 answers, in fact. 2 is that I think the frequencies are delivered in or absorbed by the body, not only by the ears, but by a lot of other ways, and also because frequencies are emitted by electromagnetic devices, which are headphones, which are creating an electromagnetic wave alongside the acoustic wave. And this is also fed by the body. And you could use transducers like Dan Winter's transducers, that you just plug into the output, and it will convert the audio signal into a pure electromagnetic signal. So this is something that you can use to use it at specific parts on the body. I think it's called piezofire or something like that, that Dan Winter does. You have it, Dan? Yes. And you can also feed it to the new Phi-Ray. I was with Dan Winter last week to check that we could feed the biocoherence frequencies directly into his new Phi-Ray device, and we were talking technically about file format exchanges and so on. So this is another way to. Just what I want to say is that there is always the option to use transducers to feed the frequencies in a non-acoustic way. But the simple fact of playing the frequencies with earphones that you can put at specific parts on the body, and not even listening to them, but just the earphones are doing this microcurrents locally specifically tuned to the frequencies. This will have bioactive effects. So it's not only the ears. Sure. And the third thing is that we should do some studies, and we should have some feedback. I would be very interested if some of you have completely deaf clients, and you try the frequencies and you see a dramatic effect. That would be very interesting,
Yep.
Well, I did a testimony about that because I had hearing problems in my left ear that kept getting worse. And when I first came to BioCoherence on the webinar, somebody said, well, I don't like it so loud or something, but I kept turning mine up and put my headphones on, kept turning the volume up. But I got hearing back in this ear, so I said it in the testimonial that it improved my hearing. And this ear now is working just, I mean, when I snap my fingers, it's just the same, so I've got my normal hearing back in my left ear. So I just
Okay,
want
so
would
Jason,
make
it's even
perfect sense.
yeah, Jason, it's
Sorry.
even better. So it means that if you have customers that don't hear the frequencies, feed them the frequencies, and then they will hear them because it will fix their ears.
It's possible.
But it's
It's
relearning the audio
it-
is what it was doing.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You're upregulating the activation of that specific tone in your auditory anatomy. So this is something that is used for tinnitus. A lot of times, just playing the frequencies that someone can't hear can activate or get that anatomy to start working again. This is kind of the premise that I'm suggesting, is that much like with medication, with anything that's delivered, whether it's a medication or an exercise or any type of input to the nervous system, but I'll just use a medication because it's something that's common to everyone. So just because a medication is stated that it does something, it doesn't necessarily have that same effect, because amongst people, there are normal responders to that medication. There are non-responders to that medication. There are negative responders to that medication. There's also super responders to that medication. So, and this is something that I think is true for all inputs to a person's nervous system, and each person has a different quality of that nervous system. So if my health is high, I will probably respond really well to stuff. If my health is low, I may have less of a response to it. So
So that's why the BioCoherence system is very tailored to your individual feeding, because you can just adjust the volume or use it with transducers.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've used those sounds for helping people with pain. I had an older fellow who had really bad hernias, and he wouldn't go to a hospital. He wasn't going to have an operation. He was scared of doctors and didn't hear very well. And I was basing it on voice prints, and I have a sound bed, and he wouldn't be able to sleep at home. He'd come here, and 5 minutes into it, because the sound was just saturating his body, there was no headphone or anything, and he'd be asleep, and he'd sleep better in an hour and a half in my sound bed than he would at home for days. And so it showed that and I've taken a Lyme's patient who had swollen knees, and I just took headphones and put on his knee, and it broadcast the frequencies into his knees and got the swelling to come down and the pain to come down. And so in transducers we've used, and I learned about those in the 90s when Pat Flanagan had his neurophone, because you could hear things through the skull that way, and that's what turned me on to using transducers with the sounds and stuff.
Was that
So
me,
there's-
Jeff?
Yeah, bone connection is something.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me or someone else?
No, someone. Oh, I forgot about you. Yeah, you had that.
That did it. I couldn't walk on my knee because of a Lyme's thing, and right after I was able to walk out of there. It was so swollen I couldn't bend it.
Well, I have used Dan Winter's piezo fired discs, and I have tendons and cramping. I have 2 hammer toes, and I get a lot of cramping. And those discs, it works. I don't use the piezo. I actually use the Tesla coil as a transducer instead of, and it works. In fact, I have a 4-channel mixer now that I just got. So I am running the plasma fireballs, right? But I'm also, for my modalities, I'm going to, since I have the 4-wave, I can include sound, the same frequencies into a piezo disc or a Tesla coil transducer, and also plasma, so I can cover, it's just one major field.
Yeah.
That really wasn't my question, and I just kind of took over the thing. My question is about when you do based on the questionnaires, and you showed those. So you said that we could, and you explained it, but I didn't quite understand it. So we have a 21 day, and the 21 days generated because I'm going to make everybody take the questionnaire. If they don't do the questionnaire, that's fine, but at the least it's going to be there. So when those things come up, the 7-day program, is that like an added protocol to the 21 day?
Yep.
Okay, that was my question. So I
Yeah,
don't have to go back and keep clicking and.
No, it doesn't modify the 21 day because the 21 day is based on your analysis and biomarkers. It's just adding some new list items, and it will add 7 to 21 list items from the same list, which means, as you maybe recall, if you use meditations from the same lists, it will play one meditation every day in a sequence. So it will add, for instance, if you have 3 major impacts according to your questionnaire, it will add 3 times 7 days, which means that each day of your 21 day, you will have a different meditation from 3 different journeys. One could be dedicated, for instance, to physical pain, and one could be dedicated to anxiety, and one could be dedicated to, I don't know what, mindfulness, because according to the questionnaires, these are strong impacts for you, and it will be added after. So you first have the dive, then you have the breath work, and then you have meditation list items, and then you go on to meridians, chakras, organs, drives, and so on. So it will be added as meditation list items according to the questionnaire answers. So it will be another layer of personalization into your 21-day program.
But it's not going to be 21. I mean, it'll be 21. It won't be 21 plus 7, I guess, is what you're saying.
No. It's integrated into your 21 days.
It's integrated into it.
Yes.
Okay. Will it show up as like added protocols if I go and look at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be added as a meditation. If you integrate any meditation list items into your priorities, it will show up on top in a slightly different color. I don't remember if it's blue or let me just check that.
Yeah. Is there any way a colorblind, red-green blind person like me can change the colors? Because sometimes I can't tell the difference. Red-green.
Which colors?
Well, any colors in BioCoherence that are used. If there's a red and a green together, yeah, they have to be really super bright, almost neon, before I can tell them apart.
I get, okay. Usually we don't use the color for specific information, except, for instance,
well, in all the charts,
the background of the flowers,
charts, focus, all of that stuff.
Yes, but you get the position of the flower, for instance, independent of the color. But okay, so maybe you have to tell me specifically what information you miss because of the color, so that we can.
I will send you an email.
Yeah. That's actually.
Thank you.
It's actually a good information, of course.
I have a question.
So you see, just for you to see, I've just added some impacts manually, and it will show up in the priorities here. So you will have 7 new items, which are linked to the questionnaire impacts. And for the stress on the DAS21, for instance. So it will be added into your priorities.
So if we do another measurement during our 21 days, can we add that to our meditation?
Yep.
Okay. Just
you
checking.
could, in principle, you could fill a questionnaire at any time, and it would be added to your meditation. I think it would be better to make it in the beginning, but in the beginning we only ask one questionnaire, and as an end user, you don't really have a way. Yes, you have a way to answer to the questionnaires. If you go to your homepage, you will have questionnaires here. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if this is. I think it's only for pros. It's not for end users.
Okay.
So as an end user, you should have only the option to fill one questionnaire according to your main theme and your main focus. But as a professional, you can ask to fill more questionnaires. Maybe we can optimize that. Maybe we can give the possibility to answer more questionnaires. It would make sense. Anyway, this is still a work in progress. So
So if I do a new measure, then these options will be available now?
yes, if you have the very latest version, but not like like I showed you, because this is part of the next release. So you already have the questionnaires, but you don't have the colors or the list items. In 1.22 that you have, it doesn't add the new meditations to your priorities. In 1.23, you will have the 245 new meditations that will be available, but right now they are just written and not even recorded. So,
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
when you do a 21-day test, and you are actually in the program, you get I mean, I reevaluate, not every day, but I reevaluate. And I didn't realize that I could ask questions at that point as well.
no, the reevaluation is only to reorder the priorities and to maybe optimize the resources according to your current resources. But the questionnaires are made to add some specific 7-day journeys. So why not take a questionnaire later and add them in the middle of your session? Why not? I think it would be better to define to make everything at the beginning, in a relationship between a user and a pro, and decide together what you want to do in the coming 21 days and stick to it, but maybe the option to take more than one questionnaire would be valid. Now that we have designed that each of the questionnaire impact is a week-long journey, and we have 3 weeks. Maybe if we don't have 3 impacts on the questionnaire, we can just propose another questionnaire. That's something I have to think about. Or maybe we just take the 3 most important impacts. I don't know. Okay. Answer next week. Okay, we are on 1 hour and a half, and we said we shouldn't not make more than 1 hour, so we are way past the finish line.
Thank you, Medrick.
Thanks to everybody. To be there.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank
Hey,
you,
that was
Stephen.
great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Medrick.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jason.
TJ, you stay on the line there, yeah?
Yep.
Cool.
I just stop the recording.